Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Deal, the show where we go deeper than the numbers and we talk about the habits that lead to success in life and business. Today on the show, my guest is Pat Zingarella. Now, Pat is not a normal guest like the operators I usually have on. Pat is actually coming at this from the complete opposite perspective. He is an LP who has created a website and a platform where LPs can actually rate GPs about the syndications and funds that they've participated in an effort to bring transparency to an industry. So he's solving an issue that he had and created a whole company around it. Really, really fascinating episode. So I hope you gain a lot of insights. And we're also going to talk about some of the trials and tribulations and even some legal things that happen. So look forward to this episode. We'll see you there. Pat Zingarella, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We've been connected for a little while now, but for our guests who don't know anything about you, why don't you give us maybe the quick rundown of what you're doing, what you got going on, right?
Certainly. So I'm the CEO and founder of a site called InvestClearly. What InvestClearly is, it's effectively a directory of GPs in their deals, and then LPs that provide undeniable proof that they've invested with those GPs can write reviews on them. The mission of the site is simply to provide a safer investment ecosystem for LPs, make finding great GPs and deals easier and making it easier to avoid riskier opportunities. There's also a lot of value to the GP in terms of building trust in a historically private environment and creating transparency when simply by using the voice of your investors to do so. So that's InvestClearly. Would be happy to go through the history or whatever you prefer.
Yeah, what a fascinating thing. I know that there's probably a couple people who've tried to get this off the ground so far, but you've had quite a bit of success. And I know you've had some very, very large clients who've pushed the platform for you and done a real good job of getting adoption going. And there's so many ways we could take this conversation. I certainly am very interested in sort of the nature of a startup and getting a business off the ground that isn't just another real estate business, right? But yeah, before we get there, can you take us back to the beginning and can you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. So my career historically was in corporate sales. I worked for a company called Gartner. It was a $5 billion company at the time. And what they did is they provided research and advisory services to IT professionals. So I was on the startup consulting side of things, helping them with go-to-market strategy, building products, messaging, things like that. One of the subsidiaries of Gartner was a software review site. So where like CIOs would come search for vendors that they're looking for pursuing, like say a big CRM company, and then read reviews from other CIOs that have actually worked with them. I spent about 6 years in that role. And then I started getting really involved into like personal development, masterminds, mindset coaching, things like that. And sort of like unlocked a much bigger world than sitting in this 9-to-5 for a while. I started getting into real estate, listening to Bigger Pockets. Then the bulk of my journey here, I got connected with someone who was like quickly rising in the ranks of notoriety in the real estate space. He was becoming big time in community I was in. I know he became big time in a community you were in. I can't go too deep into the story, but essentially I started prospecting for this guy. I wanted to latch onto him, learn from him, based on what he was doing. Turns out he was doing a bunch of fraud, right? Committing a bunch of fraud. And I left my job of 6 years to go work for him before I realized this. When I got there, I realized what was going on. I caught it early. I left after 6 to 8 weeks and sort of realized if something like this existed, I could have prevented a lot of bankruptcies, a lot of disaster, things like that, right? I told my inner circle that I found out what I saw was going on, but had nowhere to really get it out to the masses. And it turns out this individual did this to about 60 other investors. So on my way back from that journey, moved across the country to kind of pursue this opportunity. I started a sales consulting business, and one of my clients that I was selling for was GenRev, credit investor lead gen company. And so I was talking to sponsors. And at the time I was talking to sponsors, I was considering being an LP myself. And I was like, all right, where's a list of GPs that I could go compare? I was like, I can't find one. And I was like, okay, where's a list of all their deals? I was like, okay, I can't find one. Then I was like, all right, well, let me learn what other LPs are doing, GPs. And every piece of collateral I found was written by a GP. And I was like, okay, that doesn't really help me on the objectivity side of things. And then I was looking for reviews, and at the same time, I would talk to these sponsors all in the same asset class, 10 sponsors in the same asset class 1 week. And I couldn't figure out what the difference was. And I'm a smart guy. I was like, okay, something's missing here. And so those three experiences from my corporate job, real estate investor, and working with GenRev and talk to the GPs, those three things were okay, let's build this thing. Yeah.
That is so cool. All right. I'm going to ask you this straight up. how much are you allowed to talk about? Because there is such a story there.
I know. And I know you know it. And I would say I can go high level. There's some legal stuff going on. So like I can't go too deep. That time will come and I will like get there. I right now, unfortunately, is not then. But yeah, like I want to. I go on these podcasts and I have to like share the story and I can't go too deep. My attorney will probably throw up knowing that I'm talking about it and even high level. But like, yeah.
So can you tell us in general at a high level, what are some ways that an LP could be defrauded in a situation like this? What are some of the things that LPs should avoid, and how does your platform help them do that? How about that?
Yeah, the biggest thing we focus on is not just underwriting the deal, but also underwriting the sponsor, right? Is the biggest thing they could do is like not land in this circle of confirmation bias based on influencer marketing, based on community, right? And like actually hear from people who have worked with them rather than people who have like who gain financially from the GP, right? And I'm not knocking GPs for creating content. That's what they should be doing, right? You should be getting your word out there. But I think when it comes to evaluating someone, there's this like ecosystem of influence that they're getting all of their information from versus like true experiences outside of those influenced like suggestions. Meaning like, okay, a GP can put you on the phone with a reference call. They're not going to put you on the phone with someone that had a bad experience, right? You see testimonials on their webpage. It was cherry picked. None of those are bad things from the GP standpoint, but the LP should also be looking for people who like have definitely invested, but also like maybe not the first pick with you have that like that neutral experience, or they can comment very, very clearly on their experience that hasn't been suggested by the GP. So something like that. What I'm seeing a lot of that LPs bring up to me is they rode this wave, man. Like they didn't do enough due diligence on the deal and the sponsor at the time where everything was going great in real estate. Unfortunately, there's some windfall from it. I'd also say that the LPs like shouldn't write off GPs because of this, because the GPs that are having a ton of success right now, what I've seen is these are a lot of people that have gone under the radar for a long period of time. They may not be digitally advanced. They may not have a lot of presence online, but they've been doing this for 10, 15 years, that have outperformed projections and have a whole bunch of LPs that are extremely happy. Don't write off the smaller guys is kind of what I'm saying.
So you mentioned when everything was going well, right? And I love that nuance, right? Because if you ask any LP in 2020 and 2021, right? Yeah, this GP is great. The deals are cash flowing. They're planning on selling it in 18 months. And we projected 5 years originally. And that's just how it works in real estate, right? I know operators who've raised like close to $1 billion who are having to capital call on all their deals right now because timing is a huge, huge component of this. But I like that you mentioned that just because, you know, there may be a negative review or something like that, maybe don't write off a GP entirely, right? So what are you doing to kind of keep things balanced from the GP perspective of your platform?
Yeah, I mean, it's happening organically, right? Like I don't necessarily influence the balance is what I would say. So we provide this platform. We require proof that the investor has actually invested with the GP before they have written a review on them, right? Like they have to upload some sort of documentation that I can look at and say, hey, you clearly have this because you invested with them. And then from there, they can write their review, right? They share their experience. We have community guidelines where you can't get on there and start like cursing or like something insane on there. But from there, I moderate it just to make sure that, hey, this is actually a real investor. This is actually a real review. And then they can post. From the GP side of it, there's always going to be an emotional LP to reflect the true performance of the GP over a long period of time. Maybe that was one person, hey, this GP didn't answer an email in 34 minutes, so I'm going to write a bad review, right? The GP has the ability to contextualize that in the form of a comment, right? But the LP still gets to write that review because that is their experience. It's a subjective thing, right? But the GP can go on, right? They can respond to a comment and contextualize it.
Okay. So it is like Google like reviews in that sense where, you know, the restaurant owner can clap back.
Yeah.
Somebody was mad about the service and left a 1-star review, but the food was fine.
And believe it or not, like the actual respond feature was requested more from LPs than GPs. Like LPs wanted to see how GPs were responding. When we were doing the customer development interviews, like what should we build and how should we build it? I was talking to one LP who told me she picked like her child's school based on how they were responding to reviews. And she's like, I'd love to see that on here as well. And so it was pretty cool.
That's fantastic. I love that. Hey, really quick, I hope you're enjoying this episode. I just wanted to stop for a second and thank our sponsor, which is me. Nimble Capital Group is my boutique investment firm where we help passive investors access deals built for cash flow, equity growth, and powerful tax benefits. And if you think you've ever wanted to learn how to raise capital and become a GP yourself, I coach a select group of students each month, most of whom will raise over $500,000 within their first 60 days. So check the show notes in the description below to book a call. I'll see you there. So where do you stand today? What's the size of the company? What are your current efforts? What has been the process of getting to this point?
Yeah, so it's been a long but fast journey, I would say. I mean, we're on like version, I would say 3 of the site. Like when we first launched, which was November of 23, it was a disaster. It was like, let's get our, what they call in tech, like our minimum viable product out there. And it was just like, it was kind of broken. Right. It was just enough to show somebody. We collected a couple reviews and then we launched some critical features in February of 24, which was like, hey, GP can claim their profile, say, this is my company, let me update information. And LPs can write anonymous but verified reviews. From there, it was all feedback collection. Like, what did we over engineer? What did we not include that we should have? Like, for example, we really, really got deep into the deal directory side of things where we had an API connected, like an automation connected to the SEC. So every single time a deal was published with the SEC, like a Form D was filed, it would get pulled onto our website. But we had literally 160,000 deals. Like I couldn't manage that on my own. Yeah. And we spent a long time doing it and it was difficult to get deals on there. And it was just this whole thing that we thought would be cool and great. And it didn't end up working that well that we probably will come back to in the future. But October of this year, of 24, we like rebuilt the whole thing, made everything easier, launched our paid features, and really started pushing engagement. And we have like what I would call like our enterprise ready site right now that we're just iterating on and making some minor tweaks to. In terms of our efforts now, like our main goal is engagement. Right, is like getting the GPs on there, getting the GPs collecting reviews, getting the LPs using it. Like our long-term goal is to be a part of every investor conversation. An LP brings up reviews or a GP leverages reviews on every call. So like that's what we're really focusing on now. And we're really starting to what I would say is like market for the first time. Up until this point, everything's been really grassroots and we've grown really well in that way and like really organic. But now it's kind of putting some fire behind everything.
Got it. Now, just personal business question. How are you monetizing? What is the strategy here?
Yeah. So let me tell you how we're not monetizing it. We don't sell LP leads, right? Like we don't sell LP contact information. We don't take a piece of the deal. Like you can't invest through this site. We're not registered with any regulatory agency. And like people like fall on the floor when I say we're in real estate, but we don't take a piece of the deal. So the way we monetize it is we have effectively 3 profile tiers for GPs. One is like a raw profile, meaning a GP may not know who we are or may not like us. They still have a profile on there and LPs can still review them. Our goal is every GP will be listed regardless of their participation. Second tier is a claimed profile. That's free. GP can say, this is my company. Let me update information. Let me list my deals. Let me respond to reviews and take advantage of some of the features we have, free features. And then the next tier is the upgraded profile. The upgraded profile is what we monetize, and it's more like LP engagement mechanisms, LP potentially lead capture, like call to action buttons to get into their funnel or book a call with them quicker, downloadable documents, media, think advanced analytics, like things like that.
All right. And then for the LP, is there
LP completely free? Yeah. And the reason why, and this is where you mentioned a couple other people have attempted to do something like this in the past. We think that's our biggest differentiator is because we don't want the LP to have to pay like a small amount of information. Meaning if an LP joined our platform, it's like paid to get access to the reviews. The value only goes as far as the other paid, right? And so like our mission there is to just get more LPs to pay rather than actually get as much information on GPs as possible, right? And so what we want is we want full access that anybody can see this at any point in time. And then those numbers will actually be what's attractive to the GPs. It's like, hey, this many people can see your reviews. You should claim you can upgrade. These are how many people are hitting your page. And yeah.
All right. So how big is the company today? Do you have employees? What's your team like?
Yeah. So we're a team of 3 founders, and then we have contractors like VAs and things that are on our tech side, and then teams that we market with and things like that. But yeah, the 3 founders are me. I have like a product strategy partner who sort of is our visionary, if you want to think about it that way. And then we have our CTO who runs our tech our tech side of things.
Okay. And so I want to come back to this moment because in this podcast, we do talk a lot about overcoming challenges and what does it really mean to be successful and what are kind of the habits that you have to embody. So you said when you first launched, it was an absolute shit show.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What happened? Take us through your mindset at the time frame and what had to happen for you to overcome that.
Yeah, I'll tell you how the best way I could put this is like before we brought our CTO on, like me and my co-founder, who I met him at Gartner. He was my first manager there. We put together worked with these contractors this tech team to build the site. And we were like, okay, this is March of 2023. We're like, we're going to have everything built by November. We're going to hit revenue. Like we're golden. And we got this proposal. It looked great. Like it just looked great. We were going to have the entire platform built in a matter of 6 months. And we were going to start selling. And like, this is going to be a no-brainer for people to pay for. Like the day we were going to sign this contract, brought on the CTO and he looked at the proposal and he's like, hey, don't sign this. Your scope of work, he was like, you are on an hourly based schedule with this dev team. Your scope of work is not detailed enough. The second you sign this, the actual scope is going to triple. The hours are going to triple. Your costs are going to triple. All right. So like we backpedaled there when we signed like project-based job, which the team just did not do very good. Like we just not picked the right team to create this. And so we had a broken product towards the end of it that we had to like renegotiate to like get them to finish it. And then in November, we didn't even have the feature when we thought we were going to be at revenue. We didn't even have the features we can charge for built yet. So at that point in time, we were launching and it was really like, it was a very raw product. So from there, and again, we spent all of this time on this deal directory, all these man hours, all of these. And it just, when you think about like, okay, what's technical value versus business value, right? Is like, are we obsessing over the features or are we obsessing over the value of the features? Well, if we think about the value of the features of this, every deal is on our site. Why are we doing this? Okay, well, we're doing it so people can't escape bad deals. They can't just not have their bad deals on their profile, right? So every deal gets automatically posted to the profile. So, okay, well, that kind of comes out in reviews, right? Like the reviews do the same thing. And so why don't we just make this easier and more robust for LPs to find deals, GPs adding their deals and actually seeing the true experience through the reviews. And so we're like all jumbled up there and just happened a lot slower than we expected it to. And then it happened fast. It was a cool of insecurity in the beginning, fear in the beginning. Did we do the right thing? Did we build the right thing? Okay, people are starting to use it. Holy crap, people are finding us on their own. Holy crap, people are talking about us on LinkedIn. And so from a mindset standpoint, I mean, it still is tough, right? Like we've still got a long way to go before this gets to where we really want it to be. From a mindset standpoint, it was like we spent all this time building this thing and it kind of wasn't right in the beginning. And then it was like, okay, the timeline to money is a lot longer. We don't want to raise because we don't want to give up control, right? We want to like keep this internally. How much further can we push it? It was like a real scrappy start is what I would say.
Something you just said hit home really hard for me. So actually pretty much nobody knows this. I haven't told a lot of people about this, but I'm announcing it on my podcast right now. So that's interesting. But I actually have in my spare time developed an app, just a little passion project, something I was working on. And I invested just a decent little chunk of change into getting it through this dev team and everything. And at the end, I ended up with a product that was so half-baked and so not even close to what I wanted to be and so not releasable that I haven't released it. And it'll probably take me another probably 6 months and $5,000 to get it to where I really want.
And like I hate to laugh at that too, because like obsession kicks in too, where it's like I'm close. And you just have this vision of what's possible if you did get it right. And then it becomes worth it is what I could say. Yeah. Like in the moment, there's a lot of tension and self-doubt of like, oh, we got this wrong. You know what I mean? We spent all this time and it wasn't the right thing, but there was no option to, I guess, stop because we were still getting people to use it. Even in our thoughts where it's like, okay, it needs a lot of work, but people are still writing reviews. It's like, so like the underlying value is there. Okay, GPs are claiming the profile. The underlying value is there. We've got to make a couple tweaks, but we're on the right track.
Awesome. So now I got to ask out of personal curiosity, has there been yet an instance of a GP just absolutely going down in flames because of reviews?
Well, there are certainly some negative reviews on there. I recently had one where it almost looked like the LPs found the site, got together, and then all posted because I had like the GP wasn't even on the site yet, And then all of a sudden I had like a request to create the GP and then 3 reviews within like 24 hours, all 1 stars. So it must have been like, hey, we're working together to get the word out there. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some rough ones on there. You could search for them by 1 star, like in our search. But yeah.
Wow. All right. Now, on this podcast, usually we like to talk a little bit about mental health and physical health at the end. So, as a founder, what are you doing? What does your day look like? How do you maintain normalcy? How do you keep balance? How do you maintain a positive mindset going through all these swings that we go through as entrepreneurs?
For sure. So, I mean, for me, big time, the mental health and physical health are tied directly to like for me, it all starts with the physical health. I would say, so before I have a 2.5-year-old, and before he came, I lost 40 pounds. And like prior to that point in time, it was like of depression, anxiety overload, and it was all connected to like how I was treating myself, I would say. And I'm big on mindset. I hire coaches, love therapy and things like that. But I quickly realized a lot of, and this won't be for everybody, but I realized a lot of that was directly tied to what I was eating and not working out and all of these things. So, I mean, me and my wife very recently got massively on the same page. She's up at 4:30 and then she's up at 4 and then I'm up at 5. She goes to the gym, comes back, and then I go to the gym while our son is sleeping. And it's all part of a routine for me. I'm a very big routine guy. Didn't realize that until recently. I always thought I was like this spontaneous individual until I started getting away from routine. And I was like, I can't live like this. And so it's just become integrated into our life. I mean, we're also very big on food. Like we're the crunchy family, like all organic, all whole foods type of family. And I'll tell you one thing, I was not like that. Like I was a degenerate partier in the past. And but you kind of realize, again, it really boiled down to, yes, the business, but also my son. Like I didn't want to be the one saying that he should eat and do a certain thing without doing it. And so now that became more and more towards like, well, I can't tell him he can't eat it and then I'm eating it. It's got to be aligned there.
So was the catalyst the pregnancy? Was it leading up to it? You said, we're going to have a family now, and so it's time to get my act together? Or was it just the moment he was born, you were like, let's go?
No, it was the pregnancy. I mean, I hired a virtual trainer while my wife was pregnant. It's kind of funny. Like the amount of weight she put on, I lost. So it's like a contentious point. And I bring that up all the time to her, but it was just, yeah, I don't know if that's what triggered it. I think I was just like sick of it. Like I had like sleep apnea and I was just miserable. And I was like, you can't live like this. You know, it's just not in a good place. And so I finally started taking it seriously. And I would say, I mean, health-wise, everything changed. You go from, I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but like labs in the red, like high blood pressure, all of these things. And it's like, well, you know, maybe you shouldn't eat 42 wings on a random weeknight. And yeah, that's what I had to change.
And so, well, and then the real correlation that I want to extrapolate from this is you get your physical health together. What starts happening with your business and your routine and your mindset every day?
I'd say the negativity. All right. I think in all areas of entrepreneurship, you'll lose the mental game before you'll lose the tactical game any day of the week, meaning your bad days are going to happen at the worst times. And it's effectively how you manage your thoughts during that point in time, right? Like, your car will break down. You'll find out your wife is pregnant. You'll get on social media and everyone you did better than is outperforming you while you're having trouble with this. It's all going to happen at once. And I think that the mental side of things is so much heavier than actual strategy when you're on this island and you're like driving into something that you truly, truly believe in, but honestly hasn't been proven yet. And so you have to go in that with a mental state that won't get derailed at every little thing, because everything in this is essentially a challenge you're solving, right? Like that's what we're trying to do is this is a challenge, right? We're seeking out issues, we're seeking out challenges, and we're seeking to solve those things. Those challenges you're seeking are not, oh, everyone's excited about them, right? Like they're not easy things to manage. And so the physical side of things gets under control. That leads into the mental side of things. And the mental side of things, I feel personally, is what drives everything else. Like it drives your ability to like push through negativity, push through uncertainty, push through insecurity. So like you can continue on your vision, like during those roadblocks.
100%. I couldn't agree with that more, because I think of things that I deal with now on a day-to-day basis. If you think you've been stressed before, try raising $5 million in a 3-month period.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things become normal. But like I used to get stressed out about nothing, right? And so the longer you're in this, the more you can deal with, the more you can shoulder. It's not like it gets easier. It never gets easier, but you just get stronger. You get capable of handling more. Life's going to keep throwing everything at you relentlessly all the time.
Relentlessly,
That's
yeah.
not about to change, right? But you can handle it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, perfect, Pat. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciated all of your insights on today's episode. For our guests, why don't you tell them a little bit about where they can find you, find out more about you, and obviously about your site.
Yeah, for sure. So the site is investclearly.com. My email address is pat@investclearly.com. This is my life, so feel free to reach out to me at any point in time. Directly, besides email, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. That's the best way to reach out to me. But yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Beyond the Deal. I hope you got some valuable insights that you can apply to your own investing journey. Now, if you've enjoyed this conversation, do me a favor, hit that follow button, leave a review, and share this episode with somebody who you think could benefit from it. It really helps the show grow and bring on even more incredible guests. If you want to go deeper, make sure to follow me on your socials. You can find the links in the show notes in the description below. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Until then, keep going beyond the deal.